And we're back. Second episode of the Financial Edge. I'm the host, Scott Nye, one of the advisors up at the Ranky Gray Wealth Management here in Pierce, South Dakota. Coming on, like I said, the second episode here. Got a remarkable guest coming to you. A guy that wears many hats, of the most important, husband and father to a great set of kids. Now newly head CEO of the Boys and Girls Club, head football coach for the Peer Governors, and recently just got back from the NFL rookie camp in Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where you got to experience a little bit of time down there. I get to bring Steve Steele to the table today. Obviously, fellow coach with myself, a guy that we've been able to run on a 7 straight championship grouping for the Peer community and the Governors here in town. Excited to have him on. Look forward to chatting with you and getting into the message. Steve, great seeing you here on this Friday. Appreciate you popping on to the podcast here. I know I've gotten to know you for the last good decade here of time, where we've spent a lot of time, whether it's on motor coaches, traveling from town to town, 3 hours here, 3 hours there, and the whole 9 yards. But a lot of our viewers, a lot of the people that we work with and things like that probably don't have a huge background of you. You want to just kick a little bit of a backstory of Steve Steele, where you came from and the whole 9 yards, and then we'll layer into the rest of the message?
Yeah, sure thing, Scott. I grew up in Freeland, Michigan. I had an awesome childhood, awesome everything. My parents are wonderful, gave me every opportunity they could potentially give me, and made a lot of sacrifices to do so. I'm very, very thankful for them. And then went to college at William Penn University, played my football, fellow NAI school, even though yours is no longer NAI anymore. And then got a job to be a graduate assistant at Dakota State University in Madison. And then, really fell in love with coaching there, and then met my wife. And after 4 years there, wanted to cut my teeth and see if I could be a head coach. And such started our relationship of coaching together. And 8 years later, we love it here. We're still here. We're blessed to have a lot of success. Have 4 awesome kids now, and crazy household as we all have, with many little ones all over the place and activities to go to here and there. But wouldn't change any of it for the world.
Right. No, it's good stuff, and it's fun. It's a fun path to see, and just where you started to where you came. With that, what was it about football as a sport for you that drew you in, and not only playing it, obviously through high school, college, and then at the collegiate level, now at the high school level? I mean, it's been your life for probably longer than you've been alive, type of a thing in the grand scheme of things. How did you fall in love with that sport?
I think first and foremost, I've always loved competing. That was something that I just grew up. I played every sport that you could possibly play, as much as I could, but football was just always different. I've never, ever, no one in my life's ever called me small. And football is just one of those sports that, no matter, who you are, or how big you are, or how small you are, there's just a spot for everybody. It's one of the most inclusive sports in terms of body types and skill sets and abilities that, you might not be the quarterback, but maybe you're good and you can block, or maybe you can kick, or, I was a good long snapper in my day too. So there was just so many different skills that you could practice and be good at, that there was always something that you could be finding to improve to help the team. And that was what really drew me into the playing side. And then, playing in college, really fell in love with the X's and O's and the strategic part of it. Growing up, I love chess. I love Stratego, if anyone knows the
Yeah.
Stratego game.
Yes.
And all of those things were just, it's always been so much fun to scheme, to game plan, and to come up with those different ways to try and play chess and not checkers. So that part really appealed to me, along with just the relationships that you get to build. That's obviously everybody in life, you find out that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Building those relationships with everybody that you come into contact with. And that was just such an incredible way You feel the relationship in college that you have with your position coach, especially just because you spend so much time with them and you get to know their family. And that's what I wanted for my kids. We kind of grew up in college there. His kids, our offensive coordinator and O-line coach's kids, Ellie and Andy, they were our little sisters, for our offensive line all the way up. And then you get here for 10 years and one's married and another one's a senior in college, and you still, kind of keep in contact when you can. So those are just things that really appealed to me. And I'm thankful that our kids get to have all those older siblings as well.
Right. No, that the thing is that resonates a lot with me as well. Competitor, I mean, is I would say the baseline of what I do. There's not much that I don't want to win at, right? And that's with I got, you got 4 kids, I got 3 kids. I don't like losing Uno to my 3.
Yeah.
And it's part of it, my competition, but I think it's the other part is going through those ups and downs of just competition in general, of figuring it out, and having my son, call it Tucker, play, the draw 2 versus playing this type of a thing. Like you said, playing chess versus checkers. And we called it Stratego in the Nye family, but Stratego, whatever it might be, another great game of a little bit of complexity, right? Of trying to figure something out. But you hit that right on the head. And that's, even when I was going through college football at the USF time, the thing that I think I started to fall in love with more was just understanding the game and the development of my position and how impactful that made everything else. And understanding those things made the wheel churn that much easier, right? It wasn't just go catch the ball and run across the end zone, or just go tackle somebody and then it's over. I started watching games and NFL games and college games, and watching just the offensive line move in their first 3 steps and go, oh, this is a run, or, oh, this is going to be a pass, and it's going to be successful because we got to pick up the pressure off of the edge, right? And that's, those types of things just kind of developed through me when I was going through it, that told me a few things. It's, it's the old adage, if you can't play, you end up teaching, right? So I'm like, well, I'm not going on any further. This is the extent of what I've got. So, hey, now if I can start leading others and teaching them earlier on what I'm doing, whether it's, in the football side, or if it's the financial world, or whatever it might be, like, there's a tangible thing that I can share with people that I love. I mean, I love the relationship side. And I've heard this on a couple of occasions. One was, I think it was an NCAA double basketball player on his last game. And it's the one thing that I remember that I loved most about the sport. I sat next to Blake Klinzing, a friend of mine. He was a fellow offensive lineman, on our bus trips that we would take to games. And though it was some of the funnest of times for me, was sitting next to another 6'4", 300-pound guy, barely could move. But we were on the bus together, going to battle together, and building those types of relationships. Football, sports in general, and that competition, I think it teaches people a world of things through adversity, the ups and downs, and everything else.
Yeah, I think your ups and downs point is just so crucial. And that's one where, you maybe you don't fall in love with the downs part as much.
Yeah.
But, going into real life, I guess, outside of football and outside of competition, I mean, it's no different in your job. I mean, you don't win you don't make money on the stock market every single day. But you're still employed. You're still doing a great job. We don't win every single football game. We don't do every single thing right. But you always do gain that understanding of you're not defined by one moment or one play. There's always that next play to look forward to. And whether it is a good or a bad play, you've got to have your eyes ahead. And so, maybe not so much that's what I fell in love with, but that was definitely a very valuable lesson that I think you gained from that game.
Yeah, no, it's a fun thing, which is great, which leads us into the next thing, right? So head coach football, been a part of your life for a while. We're turning the chapter in one respect. We're closing a little bit of the Pierce School District and the teaching realm of things, and we're sliding over to the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club. How do you think you can now take the impact of what you've got on your plate now to develop what you've already built up in the peer community in a new arena?
And obviously, anyone that knows me knows I'm a Michigan fan. They know I'm a big Tom Brady fan. But a lot of that is, I mean, it was a challenge, and this was, you never want to get complacent in your life. There's a very, very large difference between comfort and complacency. And I think this was an opportunity to make sure that, hey, we're being challenged, and we're challenging ourselves to grow and finding out what we can do. That was a big point of leaving Dakota State when we left Dakota State to try and be a head coach and to figure out, is this what we can do?
Yeah.
Not everyone wants to or could be a head coach. There's some phenomenal assistant coaches that just don't want to deal with all that the
Yep.
head coach has to deal with. And I figured, hey, either we'll go and we'll find out and we won't be able to do it. I'll get fired and we'll figure out what we're supposed to do. Or I'll go and find out I love it and do it for a very, very long time. But, you're a young 25-year-old kid and you want to know everything. So what better way to know than to jump into the fire and, we'll see. It worked out the first time. So that's kind of the thought process here is, let's find out if, I can lead and run this organization. And
Yep.
it's that new challenge and it's still in that realm of things that I am very, very passionate about working with kids and making a difference inside the community. So very, very excited. It's been an awesome first few months here and just excited to see how far we can take this thing now.
No, absolutely, man. And that's change is always tough, right? And it's a matter of how you're going to chew on that part of the change of seeing how the success comes from. And we see that all the time in our world. And whether it's the first person that's coming in with their very first dollar, or if it's the change of somebody going into retirement, or it's the change of moving to a new area, or maybe it's just a new job. But all those things, even what we deal with these changes, hey, do we have a plan in place? Do we know where we started and where we'd like to go? And then from there, can we set up pieces of the puzzle that get us confident and comfortable with what we're trying to get done, right? And a guy of, like I said, coaching and now CEO of a job, having those systems in place are a big part, right? And
yeah,
go for it.
And I'd say, the other biggest part about that, and I mean, as coaches, we do this all the time. Moving into the CEO role, you're not a know-it-all. You don't know everything, and I think anyone that thinks they do is gonna, have a rude awakening. And the people who are the best at what they do are the people that realize that they don't know everything, and I don't want to be the smartest person in the room.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of just going off what you're talking there. I mean, change is hard. Hard is not bad. Hard is a good thing. But at the same point, change is harder when you're trying to do it all by yourself.
Yeah.
And obviously quick plug to you, because you're obviously the person that I called a lot, through this transition to make sure that we did have a plan
Yeah.
and that the plan is going to remain and continue chugging along the tracks in the right direction. And that doesn't happen if that's something that I'm trying to do all by myself or,
Yeah.
that anyone's trying to do by themselves. So, putting back life into a team sport. Life's a team sport. It's not an individual sport. If it's an individual sport, you're not going to go as far as you will with the team.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's that, it leans into, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm a together person in every aspect of it. One, because of the relationships, two, because when you're down in the dumps, you got somebody to help pick you up, right? And as much as you want to look at yourself in the mirror, there's other people around you in all those aspects, right?
Absolutely.
No. Well, hey, with that, we've got coach, we've got husband, we've got dad, we've got CEO. How do you work the balance of all those things, right? I mean, there's a lot of living going on right now. And you like you said, is it oldest at 6, 7?
Yeah. 6.
Right? And youngest
6, 5, 3, and 1.
Right. So I mean, there's a world going and change is happening. We got all that. How do you work the balance side of that?
First and foremost, I have a amazing wife that can put up with all those different hats being worn and and just find ways to get things done. And I mean, I think that's, again, going back to the team thing. I mean, we're such a good team, and again, a large part goes to her in that sense because as well as I do. I mean that football coaching, especially as a head coach and being a CEO and running things, there's no such thing as normalized hours. I guess and you're taking phone calls. You get phone calls at all hours of the day. You get text messages, and and again, it's something you're passionate about. When we have a kid that's calling because he's on a visit and he doesn't know what to do, and a media person's talking to him, that's not something you can push till the next day because he won't be on the visit with those people the next day. So
Right.
just very, very understanding of that. But, at the same point in time, making sure that we do carve out time to be together as a family and that we do things together as a family. And, something that I've really tried to focus on and not always successfully, and it's very difficult with four now, is to try and carve out some individual time with each kid.
Yeah.
And that's a very challenging thing, obviously, with the jobs and with four kids. But it's really cool being able to make some of those one-on-one memories with each kid, and obviously still at the same time try and find one-on-one time as a couple. So I mean, it's a challenge, but I think the most important thing is you can schedule things when you schedule them. You don't change those from the schedule.
Right.
And then at the same point when they're, even if it's not scheduled, but there's time that pops up that's available, make use of it.
Yeah.
I think that's the other part is make use of the time when it comes, because you don't always know when that's going to happen. And efficiency, there's nothing better than efficiency when you're a busy person. Don't waste a minute. And if you have a minute, use it.
Yeah, no. Two things that stood out to you that I really like is timeliness. You went to with the recruiter or whatever it might be with one of the kids. Same thing in our world, man. I've chatted with a lot of people about, well, hey, can I call you? I know it'd be after hours. You can call me anytime, right? Because we're here together. We're here to work together on this. And I'm a problem solver of one things, right? I like solving things, whether it's a Lego kit with my kid, or if it's what am I supposed to do with this beneficiary account that I just inherited type of a thing, right? If it has to be at 7:30 on a Saturday, then let's make it 7:30 on a Saturday, right? Because when things are important to others, and I'm a big believer in servant leadership, give to others, because that's where you can really find yourself in a lot of these things. Keep doing those. And the other part about not changing the schedule, I say it a lot with a lot of people, do the things, because if you've got the time to do it right now, because we're not promised tomorrow. We've got right now. So if you've got the opportunity, do the things and have fun with it. Right.
Absolutely.
No, let's jump into a couple acronyms that we've got. I love them. When they were first introduced, I'm like, well, what do we got going on here? But over the time, it's like anything else, right? You run into it. We've got family, FAMILY, forget about me, I love you. How, and then the TOTD, turn out the dark. How do those come about? Was there an inspiration somewhere? Was there something in the background? Just give me the starting points there.
So very, very different beginnings on these. Family, I was fortunate. I got to be at the AFCA convention, American Football Coaches Association. I was a member of the first 30 under 30 class that they had down. It was in San Antonio in 2016. And Glenn Caruso is the head coach still to this day, the University of St. Thomas. They were a Division III school at the time, and they did so well in Division III. They got kicked out of their conference, and they're now in Division I. But he's still there. And that was something that he had discussed in that panel when he was on it for this coaching convention. And it's just something that always stuck with me, and that was kind of one of those things where you hear it and your wheels start turning, and you automatically understand how this can be applied, not just we're a family, but the acronym part of hey, it's not about me, it's about you, and it's about us. And it's about what I can do for you,
Right.
and what I can do for us, and it's not about what you can do for me. It's about what you can do for us. And it's all about what we can do. And that everything about that just clicked with me. And then, obviously there's all of the natural parallels between, there's very few governor football practices that don't at least have one child running aimlessly around the football field.
Yeah.
Usually there's multiple. But I mean, it's all about an atmosphere. And to me, that's that servant leadership you're talking about. When you have an atmosphere of servant leadership, you don't care who wins as long as it's us. And it's not me and it's not you, it's us. And when no one cares about that, then there's a lot of success. And I truly believe that that's one of the foundations of why this program has become so special. And TOTD is actually, I was reading a book. I love reading. We have all kinds of these talks on our road trips. But it was a book called Through the Eyes of a Lion by Levi Lusko. And it's actually, it's a book that's it's a tragic story, so I don't want to spoil it if anyone wants to read it. But this chapter was a chapter in a book called "Turn Out the Dark."
Right.
And another one of those things that as I read through the chapter of the book, everything, all of the connections between what was being said and football and running a program and everything that we could stand for, it all just connected itself. And obviously, I mean, you would know, but we usually have a theme for every football season. And this last year become the mountain, and
Yeah.
before that was push harder, and a lot of
Yep.
these different things, and many of those things come from simply reading or listening to music and or watching a movie and just being aware.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer that if you just pay attention, things come to you that you can use, and the connections will be made for you. You just have to be watching and listening
Right.
and being present. And honestly, that's how pretty much all of these things, everything that we do, none of it I would say is anything that I completely created. It's
Yeah.
something that was presented to me, and I would just say I was awake, I was present, and I was paying attention, and then grabbed a pen and wrote it down before I forgot.
Yeah. And which is a key part, right? You got to have
Yeah.
something to put it down to have that thing stick with you. I love both of them. I think they both fit very well with how I was brought up, and obviously just kind of us meeting together and then pushing forward have been great two titles to hang on both sides of our hat like we've had in the past type of a thing. I wish we could throw out the TOTD onto some of our statements for clients and things, because I think it resonates a lot in our world, right? In our
Yeah.
world, we've got constant pressure from media outlets and things of that sort about what next bad thing is coming our way, right? And there's so much of that where if we could just turn out the dark and focus on the long-term goal that we have for us and the systematic approach, the disciplined approach that we've done, for Rank Your Grade, we've been around for the better part about 40, almost 50 years type of a thing. If you can turn out those pieces and just focus on where we're trying to get done, man, there's a lot that can get accomplished. It's just we're constantly inundated with a lot of the negativity, right? I mean, because that's what gets the clickbait. It's what's the next worst thing to the next best thing, and oh, you missed that and you missed this, and FOMO and this, that, and the other, right? But
Yeah. Well, and the beauty of what you just said, literally exactly just said, is focus. I mean, and that's 90% of TOTD. Turning out the dart is simply, where do you put your focus?
yep,
And I've said this all the time when I've spoken to groups or whatnot. You can't, as a head coach, as a CEO, as a financial advisor, as whatever your job is, you cannot hide from problems. Problems are going to find you, and if you think you're good at hiding, someone will bring one to you.
right,
And if you put your focus there, you're always going to find a problem. It's
yep,
so easy to find problems, but if you put your focus on solutions, if you put your focus on things you can control and positivity, and not just fake positivity, but I mean, if you're looking for silver linings, you'll find them. And,
yep,
and I think that's the beauty of TOTD, and the beauty of our football program within that is that you tend to have happier people,
right,
because if you're focusing on good things and you're focusing on solutions, you'll solve more problems. You won't dwell, and the lows never feel so low when there's hope coming up.
right,
There's a light at the end of the tunnel. No matter how dark it's getting, that you're going to get out of it. And
right.
and that, I think that's the biggest part, is that mindset flip and the focus that you're putting your energy on, as an individual, as a group, as a team. That's ultimately what TOTD is all about. And exactly what you were just saying. Just wanted to reemphasize that.
No, yeah. And one of the things, and I don't know if it is Buffalo or not, but I heard it, and it's always kind of stuck with me. You see a storm coming on the horizon, right? And there's people that will turn from the storm and start running away. But the
Buffalo
storm's
and
coming.
cows.
What is it?
Buffalo versus a cow.
Right. Oh, yeah. Okay. And you'll have somebody that runs away from it, but the storm's still going to come. You're just going to be in the storm longer because you're going with it. And then there's people that, can just plant and sit, and they'll do nothing, which is better than running from it because it's only going to come anyways. And then you've got the buffalo that go, well, let's go right into this thing, because if I go into this, we're going to cross and we're going to be through it quicker on the other side, on the right types of approaches, the right types of things that you do. And that comes from the systems that we kind of mentioned already, and having a plan in place, because otherwise we're just aimlessly walking around, and that typically gets nothing done for anybody, right?
Yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
no, that's all good things. Going back to the acronyms, and this was something from mine, and I know that we've said it, and I know that you've come to it a few times in some of our pregame speeches, and all of a sudden I'll catch a, hey, Nye, winners win, and you'll hear me resonate because that's what winners do. And that's one that's stuck with me, and I've used a lot in my time as a coach, as a teacher, and whatever aspect that it is. Winners win because that's what winners do. And it's, for me, it's, you're going to do the types of things that winners are going to do. You're going to focus on winning. You're going to pride yourself on doing those things consistently. And on the darkest of times, you're still going to find the ways of doing what a winner does. And ultimately for that, and most times it's just, you're not going to quit. You're just going to keep clawing and keep fighting. And if you do those types of things, it's like, it's, whether you lose at chess or you lose in checkers or whatever it is, if you take a loss and you learn from it, there's an aspect that you won on. Let's focus, like you
Absolutely.
said, on the part that we want to win on, right? And then if you get enough of those focus pieces, you get enough of those aspects in place, or in our world, if you continue to contribute, you continue to stick with your plan, and we continue to rebalance systematically and whatever it might be, we're going to do enough of those right things to keep moving ourselves forward on the totality of everything that we've got going on. And that's where you really can compound a lot of these things, but it all takes time. And that's the one thing that people want more of is time, and the one thing we can't ever buy more of is time. Just, we've got the finite window that we're in. It's just, what are we going to do while we're in it? Right?
Absolutely.
No,
Absolutely.
no. How, I know that you kind of mentioned a little bit of the speaking engagements that you've had, which is awesome, because I've been on the side of shoot, halftime speeches when we're down in a state championship game, to the pregame speeches, to even the post games of wins and losses. How have you taken your coaching realm and the time that you've had as a teacher and all those types of things into now the business world, where you've got organizations going, Steve, can we get you in here and talk to you? How does that come about? Where does that stand from? And then how has that moved you forward?
Yeah, I think the very first one that I was asked to do was a team building training for an organization here in the city. And it was one of those things where, I think that they're probably desperate at the time. I mean, it was probably, oh my gosh, who's local that we can get that could do something with team building? And they were like, okay, well, let's give this guy a shot. Maybe he can do it. And, obviously I didn't know what you teach, so you know how to present to a room,
Yep.
but you have a curriculum. You have a curriculum and you have a plan that you're following, where this is, well, the most important thing that I gained from that is, you just like coaching and teaching and everything else, you have to build a relationship, and you have a very, very quick amount of time that you have to do that in.
Yeah.
And if you want your message to actually be received, because as everybody else, if people aren't engaged, people don't care, whatever message you say doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You could be handing out $100 bills. If they're asleep, they're not going to take it. So that's the most important part. And I think the easiest way to do that, and the way that, I think we all work as coaches, is just being authentic. We have things, and a lot of it's easy to talk about our guys, and it's so much fun to talk about the things we do with players, to tell, those unique little stories that are funny, that are, like you said, they're from a bus, or they're from our camp, or from random days at practice. And, there are those things that are so vivid that you'll never forget.
Yep.
But then the reason behind them and what we gained from them, and then ultimately how the team grew for them,
Yeah.
and I think the most that I've probably talked on is culture. And how we've been able to come up with this culture here within our football program. A lot of the family and a lot of the TOTD, and it's not so much, well, where did those start and how do you guys use them, but how do you know they're in there?
Right.
How it's easy to say we want to build a culture. It's a lot harder to put a plan together to build a culture.
Yeah.
And I think words are easy, actions are hard,
Yeah.
and that's just like you're saying, it's easy for you to say, hey, I'll make you a millionaire, we'll retire you. It's a lot harder for you to put together an actual detailed plan of how you're going to get there.
Right.
And I think that's been the biggest and the most fun part about talking about our program, is that we can show the detailed steps of how we do that. We can show how, we can't expect our kids to be positive if we don't give them opportunities to be negative.
Yeah.
Because you don't know how you're going to respond in a bad situation if you've never put them in a bad situation.
Right.
And then, if they do respond bad, how do you redirect? How do you coach them to have the correct response? And if they do have the correct response, how do you give them the positive feedback to make sure that that's the feedback that comes every time? And how do you encourage your team to do things not for themselves? How do you, especially, and this is very difficult with position competitions where two people are competing for the same job.
Yeah.
How can you get it so that both people want the other person to get better, not get worse, so that they win the job?
Right.
And that's probably the hardest part, but that only happens when, I truly believe at this point, our guys, they want to be the best player at their position, but they want to be the best amongst the best. They
Right.
don't want to be the best because there's no other option. They want to be the best, but if something happens to them, they want to know that this team will still go on and will still have the success that we need to have, because they've worked together side by side with someone they trust and they truly love. And that's what's going to ultimately keep this team going, because we're not putting our eggs in one basket. We're
Right.
putting all of our eggs in everybody's basket. We want everybody's basket overflowing. And when everybody has that, there's a word for it. It's called Mudita. I can't pronounce it very well. Meita. And I think there's actually, you're a basketball guy too. So I want to say it was KG's team when he was on the Celtics. I think that's the word that they used. There's two words. They might have been the other one, but essentially they all mean very, very similar things.
Sure.
Again, watch movies with your eyes open. I can remember the important stuff, but not the basketball part, because I'm not a basketball guy.
Yeah.
But it's appreciative joy is what it means, and it's a village. There's a village and a kind of a tradition in Africa that they have. That's what their cultural practice is, mudita, and trying to be happy for the community.
Right.
And that, our community is strong, therefore I am strong, not vice versa. And they were able to put that into practice when they went and they had their run. And yeah, it was with Doc Rivers. It was a Doc Rivers. So, and that was kind of their rallying cry that they believed in. And when you can get to that level, not that we necessarily talk about that, because I know you'd never heard that word probably until I just said it. When you can get to that level where everybody is happy, regardless, if someone has a good game and that's not me, I'm still happy because we had a good game.
Yeah.
And when you can get to that level and you can see that in the day-to-day and not just in the game and a radio, and it's awesome to listen to radio interviews and hear what they say. Are your kids talking about themselves, or are they talking about the other players on their team that allowed them to have the stat line that they did? And at practice, are they, demanding things of other people and saying, you need to go do this and you need to go do this? Or are they helping people go and do those things? When you can see those things on a day-to-day basis and you reinforce them, that's how you build the culture of appreciative joy, of mudita. And that's I think to the point that we've gotten, and it's so much fun to see all of the kids really, really buying into that and buying into each other.
Yeah, no, it's something special, right? And a quote from, I think it's The Office, where they said it's one of those things where you wish somebody would remind you when you're in the good times, when you're actually in the good times.
Yeah.
We've seen this. Something special has been going on, and breathing that in and listening to it and being aware to it and leading by example. But yeah, no, I like that. I've never heard that word before. But I'll put that in the old pocket, because that's exactly, I mean, that's a lot of what we do up in our office, right? I mean, our success is driven through our clients. It's them being successful that lifts up the rest of everything else. That's where we find all that. And it's through working with them and communicating and building and strategizing all those things. That's where it's all driven. And I love that aspect of things, right?
Yeah.
Let me go into this now, because this just happened, and it's pretty stinking awesome. We get the invite to go down to Tampa Bay Buccaneers and help out at was it the NFL rookie camp? Is that right?
Yep. Rookie mini camp. Yeah.
Rookie mini camp. So we got the NFL draft that I know I watched. and all
Yeah.
the things that go on, and you're now down with some of these players at the NFL, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. How was the experience? I mean, just give me the broad scope of that time, about 7, 8 days that you had to at the highest of levels, right?
Yeah, it's very, very, very similar to what we have in Pier. From kids to everything is almost exactly like we have now. I mean, they just, I mean, it's just incredible, and it's one of those things. I mean, you being a competitor too, and having played all kinds of sports, it's super easy when you go out and you're messing with friends, be like, yeah, I was so close, but I had that knee injury, is really what kept me from moving on.
Yeah.
And then you go and stand by these guys, and I feel like a dwarf,
Yep.
because I mean, I think I could have worn dang near every offensive lineman as a bodysuit. And then you're realizing that, there's these guys that are weighing 360, 370 pounds. They're 6'6" or 6'7", and they're running faster than any player we have on our high school team.
Yep.
And it's barely human. You feel like there's no way that these people are full human with the things that they can do. And then you see the level of detail that they go into, and
Yep.
that's a challenging thing. As well as I do. I mean, we pride ourselves in our program of being very detailed people, and having things planned with incredible detail. And you go down there, and it is just 100-fold more,
Right.
and it's just such an amazing operation to see, from the pride that everybody takes in their job, and the pride that they take in their little piece of the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was a really incredible experience all the way around. Obviously, just seeing the facilities, I'm joking, obviously they were way way beyond anything I'd ever seen before. See the level of athlete, which we've had a lot of incredible athletes come through
Yeah.
our program, and it's just a different level, and then the level of coaching and the detail that they put into it, and to the smallest little thing that you wouldn't even think about, and it's a huge coaching point for them, to just the massive amount of data and information that they go through on a daily basis, to make their decisions. It's an impressive thing, and there's no doubt that that's why they're the greatest level of football in the world, because they have the resources, the data, and the capabilities to make every decision as informed as humanly possible. And if there was a way that they could improve that, there would be no second guessing. They would go for it in a second, because they want to be the best in every single thing they can do.
Right. Right. No, it's just a wild experience. I mean, in the time that you were down there, I know we chatted quite a bit on the phone just about all the things that were happening. Like you said, the size of these people are just, I mean, just second to none. It's just incredible. No, tons of fun. When with that experience, is there something that you take away that makes you feel confident with what you're doing back here in Pierre, though?
Yeah, I think there was a ton of stuff that you can bring back, and then a lot of just affirmation. That what we're doing is the right thing. Obviously everything's relative.
Yep.
We don't have the resources, the capabilities, or the data to do everything exactly as they're doing it. But the baseline, and I know you were super pumped about this. Their line starts their practice, their pre-practice, almost the exact same way that we do.
Yeah.
And there's so many things that are very, very similar, that where you leave knowing that you're at least doing right by your kids, which again is primarily the goal. We want to do right for our kids. We know, if we have one kid make the NFL, that's incredible. If we have more than one, that's even more incredible.
Yeah.
But realistically, we've got to do right by the hundreds and someday thousands that aren't going to be playing in the NFL.
Yep.
You still want them to have the benefits of playing, and gain all of the things that you can possibly give them through the sport, and just through the discipline, through sticking things through, hard is okay sometimes. You've got to deal with the hard so that you can, and so that you can come out the other side. And a lot of those things, I mean, it's hard. There was like a 62-page install for the offensive lineman, and they had
Yeah.
roughly 12 hours to learn half of it. And then they got about another 12 hours to learn the other half of it. And I mean, we're talking that, the guys that are on that fringe trying to make the next step, which would be just OTAs and training camp,
Right.
you're looking at potentially 40 plays that decide whether or not you get to do that. So
Yeah.
you got a 62-page install, you got 12 hours to learn it, and you got 40 plays to prove it,
Right.
and it doesn't get much higher stakes than that. And, at that point, you're coming from college where you're probably a hot shot. There's no bad players that were invited to this.
Yeah.
And, you're going from, well, yeah, I'm so athletic, there's no way they can. But, yeah, well, this guy's athletic, this guy's bigger than me and athletic. I mean, if you've got a weakness, their job is to find it, and they're going to find it in 2 days. And if they don't find one, then you get to move on. And
Right.
that was really kind of a neat process to just kind of see and go through, and kind of being able to be with the guys to gauge their mentality. Again, it's a very high pressure 3 days for them. For us, we could enjoy it. We knew we were leaving on Sunday regardless. So
Yeah.
there was absolutely no pressure for us. But those guys chasing that dream and kind of getting inside their minds and understanding what they're feeling at every moment. And you could see some very much overwhelmed. You could see some really excited, and see some that are like, I'm really picking this up. Maybe I got a chance.
Right.
And then realizing that, we had 12 guys there, and of those 12, 6 were probably going to go home when we did.
Yeah.
So it's a really neat experience that you kind of learn and realize that you are doing right by your kids. But at the same point in time, the standard is the standard. And if there's anything else that I took from it, it's that, wait, as much as we're demanding of kids, we're not demanding too much.
Yeah.
We actually give them quite a bit of time to go be kids and to be children and do what makes them happy too. But the standard is the standard. And the minute you move that standard is the minute that you start to break your program down.
Right. Right. No, and I talk a lot about that with clients with the goalpost, right? If you keep moving the goalpost, it's hard to accomplish the goal that we ended up setting up in the first place, right? Like, okay, my income doubled, but if I move the goalpost 2 times farther, I'm no closer than I was today, right? It's about finding that happy medium of going, how do I continue to position myself to put the best next step forward for my moment today, but then planning for the tomorrows of what I've got coming down the road too, right?
Yeah.
No, and I love that. I love that part about just the next level of detail and things like that. And that's one thing that in our industry, and especially with where we're at, right? We're Pierce, South Dakota, this branch here. We've been around for a long time, but a lot about what people don't know about us is the depth of efficiencies and the platform that we use. We've got connections of the CFAs and the CFPs and the whole 9 yards of everything that's available at the disposal of the people of our community here in Pierre, which is exactly what you want to have for people, is to go, hey, this is available to everyone. We just have to have the conversation. And for you to be able to step in to a level like that and walk away with some affirmations like, man, we're doing the right types of things. Geez, talk about a tip of the hat and a pat on the back of what that looks like. I mean, if there's a way to walk away about feeling that good at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and going, man, we're doing something right here, because they're doing the same types of things at this level. Shoot. How cool is that? How cool is that?
Yeah, way fun to see them run a couple. I shouldn't say a couple of our plays. We're probably running a couple of their plays. But,
yeah,
really
Let's
cool
own
to see
that.
them.
It's ours.
Yeah,
Let's own that.
It's our play. They definitely copied us.
Yep.
But yeah, really neat to see them running very, very similar concepts and coaching them very similarly too. So again, that's even from that end, it's just really neat to see the similarities in what they're doing with what we're doing. Obviously they just have a few more contingencies they usually have to plan for, as opposed to what we have to plan for.
Yeah, and I would argue we've got a harder scale because we don't have all just football players at the premier of their level, right? We've got guys
Also
that
true.
are hockey guys that are playing football. We got guys that want to just do basketball or whatever, or wrestling or whatever it might be, that are taking some time to do this sport. I mean, I think that's one aspect that I've always loved about this level of coaching, is you really get to see the progress of buying into a system and what they're doing, the little right things, and seeing them from game one to hopefully a championship game where it really pans out, right? I mean, that's none better than that stuff.
Well, and the other fun part I think about our level is, the eggs you have are the eggs you have.
Yeah.
If an egg doesn't work out, they can toss it out and go buy a new one.
Yep.
They're like, this is a bad one. That one's cracked. We'll send that and go get some more from the grocery store, and they can do that tomorrow.
Yeah.
No one. I mean, the guys that are on the fringe, they're not guaranteed the next day in the NFL.
Sure.
And those guys sitting at home, if they're on the fringe, they could get called and come in and take a spot the next day. We don't have that. You
Right.
know, we have the next guy that's probably a year or 2 years younger and 20
Yep.
pounds lighter, and
Yep.
that's the next guy in. And you know, that's been a really cool thing, and I think a real thing of pride. I know for you personally, but especially for our program, is that you know when we've had those moments of very big injuries or of things that have happened that we've not missed a beat, we've been able to go to that next man up and still get the job done and get the job done well with pride.
Right. No, and I know this hits with you too, but a lot of these kids, like you mentioned, they're probably not going to the next level, but can we create great young men with great character, with great culture around them that feel comfortable to come back in 5, 10 years and chat with the coaches that were there, the teammates that they played with, and the community that they lived in, right? I mean, if we
Uh-huh.
can have that to lift people and continue to move that standard of inclusiveness of people getting in. I love that aspect is something that you brought with us. I mean, shoot, you took our squad from was something around 50 to we had 100+ kids last year.
Yeah, super fun to
Exactly.
see.
You know what I mean? That's exactly what you want to see, right? More people
Yeah,
buying in to good things with good people around them that want to serve the right types of pieces of the puzzle, right?
absolutely,
No, no,
absolutely.
that's great, man. Well, shoot, we'll dive into just something nice and easy. There anything else coming up for the summer for you? Do you get to go back to Michigan at all with the fam, or are you stuck around in Pier with the new gig and enamored with that for the rest of the summer here?
Yeah, we took our Michigan trip right after school was out. You know, I officially started full time here June 1st.
Yep,
So we had that, you know, 8 or 9 days to jet that way and then get back. And now focus is here, and you know, obviously still got our football stuff, few
yep.
couple times a week and stuff throughout the summer. But you know, it'll all be here before we know it. So just trying to soak up as much beach time, as much of the new city pool time as we can, and you know, obviously make as many memories as we can possibly make.
No, no, absolutely. Well, hey, Steele, I appreciate the time that we had today. We'll have to have you sometime in the future type thing, but I thought it was a perfect time with the change and the transition that you had with the new gig that you've got going, the experiences that you've had at the, Tampa Bay and all the different things, and just have a thought leader and a community leader of peer here on the cast here at the Financial Edge. So thank you for your time. Appreciate it. And best of luck going forward, my friend.
Thanks, Nye, man. Appreciate you having me on. Anytime you need me, you know where to find me, and do whatever we can to help.
All right, pal. Good stuff.